First of all, I want to say thank you for joining us today. We always love having our colleagues and friends join us for these workshops and trainings. And Mark was generous enough to let us collaborate and partner with this one in particular for the Innovative Teaching Series. So hopefully you'll have a good time. We're very excited to have Herman Rosas-Acosta present here today about some of the classroom technologies that he's been using quite effectively. Without further ado, I'm just going to let you roll with it, man.
All right. Before getting started, two things. Number one, I was super excited to hear that we have that because I have not eaten yet, so I'm really hoping that there is some leftover for me to eat a little. It's really challenging to try to talk in front of a big audience when you don't have a full belly, and I never ever thought of that. And I'm feeling like I really need the extra calories, so I'm like, oh gosh. And we will actually talk about food at some point in my presentation, which is only going to make it even worse for me. So, okay. All right, so before I get started, I want to get to know the audience a little bit, because my name is out there. Obviously, I'm not going to be asking your name, but I want to get a sense of where you guys are coming from for this presentation. So, what I want to know first is how many of you are tenured faculty? People who have already been associated with UTEP for a while and are already fully tenured. Tenured faculty, raise your hand. All right, I know that's your guys. Tenured faculty typically don't come to this kind of meetings, sadly. I didn't say that. Okay. Number two, people who are tenured track faculty but who are not tenured yet, or people who are faculty but not on a tenured track, raise your hand. This is when I get a sense of people in the room. Okay. All right. And now I want to see people who are associated with teaching in some condition here at UTEP, even if not in a faculty position, but people who actually do some teaching at some point here at UTEP, raise your hand. So people who have not been included in any of those groups. Okay. All right. So pretty much we all do some level of teaching in this class. So now, continuing with the same track of mine, I want to ask you one question here. So, for those of you who are probably tenure track, do you consider that you are here at UTEP because of the tremendous success that you had on your research enterprise? You're here because of the research that you have done in the past. That's the main reason why you're here at UTEP. Raise your hand now. All the way up. Feel proud, I've done so much research. All right, I want to see those hands. Okay, great. Now, I want to see how many of you are here because of your love for teaching. Because you wanted to be an instructor, a professor in a university teaching something at this level, in a university setting. Raise your hands, okay. Right, so this is actually pretty good. We have a good number of people who truly love teaching. All right, and now, final question for you guys. And this one is the one that probably will really tell me where you are all coming from right here. And that is, how many of you feel that you are here today because at some point, probably many years ago for some of you, probably not that long ago for others, but at some point you were actually exposed to somebody, some instructor, some professor, some teacher, who truly motivated you to achieve greatness, to put the most effort that you could put on whatever it was that you felt that you wanted to achieve in life, and you felt that because of that person, you had the motivation, you had the drive to actually try to get somewhere in life. How many of you feel that you have been influenced by somebody at that level? Raise your hand. All the way up. I really want to see hands up right now. All right, so keep it up. I can see it from down. I know you're eating, but I'm not. So I want to keep your hands up because I'm not eating. All right, so look around. Look at how many people actually have their hands up right now. People who feel that are here because you had somebody who motivated you, who really pushed you through excellent teaching in the classroom to achieve what you have achieved so far. You can put it down now. All right, thanks. Now, why am I saying this? Why do I consider that this is important before going into what we are supposed to be talking about today? I think that this is essential because this allows us to realize that in our daily duties as members of UTEP, every single day when we cross that door into the classroom, every day that we're exposed to our students, we have that chance. The chance to actually transform the future for somebody. Out of all the things that we do here at UTEP, that's the one that has the biggest potential to change somebody's life right away. The moment that you cross that door, and you become an exceptional teacher, an exceptional instructor, you can be changing lives. And I believe that to some degree, everybody feels that you can always improve a little bit at that level. I believe that that's probably the motivation that actually brought you all here into this classroom today. Because you feel that maybe there is something new, something that you can add to your classes to improve the teaching that you actually give in the classroom. And that's probably a reason why you are here, and that's probably a reason why you consider that it's possible that perhaps classroom technologies are truly your friends, not your foes. All right, so with that in mind, let's actually go into our topic today. So, classroom technologies. How many of you consider that you already use classroom technologies? How many of you are already doing something in the classroom that you could qualify as being some sort of classroom technologies? Raise your hand. All right. Okay, now, for those of you who consider that you're already doing classroom technologies, is that classroom technology just the use of PowerPoint and computers, or is it something else?
Blackboard.
Blackboard in the classroom? All right, so something beyond just using PowerPoint. It's probably everybody. Raise your hand again. Something beyond the use of PowerPoint. Okay, so many of you are already familiar with the classroom technologies that we probably will be talking about today. So I hope that you will be able to get something, even if you are already using these technologies, you'll be able to get something extra, something that you can actually add to your daily teaching. So, okay, the technologies that I will be describing today are basically two. Number one, I'll be talking about this little tool here, the eye clicker. So that was the very first one that I will be describing, and I will spend a good amount of time talking about this one. The second one will be the Rosas-Acosta lockdown browser, which is something a little more directly linked with Blackboard, and to my belief, it's something that is probably less currently being used than the eye clicker. How many of you are already familiar with the second one, with the Rosas-Acosta lockdown browser? Raise your hand. Okay, so probably less familiarity with this one. All right. Now, for this second part, I will actually get some extra help because by then I'll probably be really dying out of hunger. So I'll pass on the clicker to this gentleman that we have here, Michael. So you want to stand up so that people can get familiarized with you before we even do it.
Hi,
so,
everybody.
Phil.
Oh, no, sorry. I'm Michael Morales. I'm one of your Blackboard system admins. I manage Blackboard along with Cindy Castro over here. Some of you know Cindy Castro. But I'll be helping out with the presentation in the second half.
All right, okay, so let's take it from there. So, all right, so let's start with the eye clicker. And what I want to touch base with for all of these technologies is first, I want to provide you a brief introduction. The truth is, it may not be that brief. But an introduction that will actually give you a sense of why I am using this technology, when you can actually use it, and where, under what conditions in the classroom you're supposed to be using this. I also want to touch base with the requirements, what is needed to actually be able to use the technology, and then I want to go over some examples of the actual use of the technology. And I see that some of you actually have computers, not as many as I hoped, but at least some of you do have computers here, so I'll try to actually have you answering questions. Now, a question on the side. for those of you who don't have computers, do you have some sort of smart device with you? A cell phone, yes? These days, most people have a cell phone. So, okay, so we'll do it using the cell phone or the computer or whatever it is that you have with you. All right, so let's move on. So let's start with the eye clicker then. So, the reason why I started to use the eye clicker in my classroom is probably the reason why many of you feel the need to use some sort of technology in the classroom. And that is, when you first arrive here to UTEP as a faculty member, you are basically told, probably within the first week of arrival, or at least that's the way that it was for me, that your ability to remain here at UTEP and to be considered a good, effective member of the faculty will be dictated by your performance in 3 different areas. Number 1, teaching. Number 2, your professional achievement as measured in research productivity. And number 3, you will also be measured based on your service. Now, I kind of assume that pretty much everybody has been told this to some degree if you are a faculty member here at UTEP. Now, the issue with this is that when they tell you about these measures that you would be measured by, they also tell you that the value that will be assigned to each one of them will not necessarily be the same. Under some conditions, some of these may actually have extra value, some others may have less value. But on top of all of that, they also tell you, and by the way, you have to excel at all of them. You have to be incredibly good in each one of these measures. Now, the issue with that is that there is just not enough time in life to accomplish excellence in all of those areas. So time really becomes the biggest issue that you have to handle when you arrive here as a faculty member. Now, very soon after arriving, the other thing that happens, and at least that was my personal experience, is that within a few weeks, a week and a half of arriving here at UTEP, you're actually put in this environment. You all of a sudden go from having an empty lab that you're trying to populate somehow to be the person who is responsible for this kind of situation. So you're basically asked to teach a class. And if you are really lucky, you will end up teaching a large enrollment class with more than 100 students. And then the issue becomes, with all of the different things that we have to achieve, how do you find enough time to be able to at least do a slightly better job in the classroom? Something that will change this. Because looking at this, even in this kind of setting, it just gives you a really bad feeling, right? I mean, this is probably a human nightmare for some of you. Getting into a classroom where this is the kind of dynamics that you have drains your energy. And thinking that you will have to be doing this for who knows how many years, exposing yourself to this kind of environment can be poisonous for you, right? It will really have a bad effect in you. You don't want this, but you want, what you truly want to see in the classroom is this kind of environment. The kind of environment where students are interacting with each other, where students are looking at the board, they are truly engaged in whatever it is that you're presenting to them. The students are participating in the process. They are having fun in the process. They are being challenged, and they feel that going to class is one of the cool things that they actually get to do as students at UTEP. So then the question is, how do you go from here to there, right? That's really the challenge. That's the big question that we're faced when we're told here as instructors in these large enrollment classroom settings. Okay, so then the issue here becomes, well, how do you produce this kind of environment. And by the way, I just want to point out some of the really true great characteristics of this kind of classroom environment. Number one, in this kind of environment, students actually feel that they are fully engaged. They feel that they are participating in a group activity. They feel that they belong to a community when they come into a classroom. They become citizens of a community of students that are participating in the classroom. So they are engaged. There is an engaging atmosphere in the classroom. Number two, students feel motivated to actually participate. Many times when we ask questions in a large classroom setting, students don't even feel like raising their hands because they are afraid. They are afraid of public speaking. It's one of the most frequent fears in America, everywhere, throughout the world. So in this kind of engaging environment, students actually even forget about the fact that they are fearful of public speaking. Now, this kind of environment actually is conductive to improve learning. And when you have that kind of setting, that kind of condition, the fact that the students go to the classroom actually makes a difference for them. When you have these kind of conditions, the students who attend class will actually do substantially better in their tests, which means class attendance actually truly matters. And it matters not because you're giving them credit for attending class, not because you're keeping record of who's coming and who's not coming, because that, in the end, doesn't really matter. What matters is that the students who are coming to class are truly learning, are so engaged and so actively engaged in the process that they end up doing substantially better than the students that don't come to class. So this is really what we want to achieve in the classroom. Now, doing this, achieving these kind of conditions, actually requires something that goes well beyond using, because if the answer was as simple as using an iClicker, or using a computer, or using a cell phone, or whatever it is that the students bring with them to the classroom, if that was the whole solution, it would be so easy that probably we wouldn't even be spending the time here talking about this. The issue is, you have to change this interaction, because this is the typical interaction that leads to all the students sleeping in the classroom. You have to change this. You have to dramatically alter this routine, which is the typical paradigm of interactions in the classroom. You have one person who is standing in front of everybody, who has all the knowledge, who knows it all and has all the answers. And in the short time of the interaction in the classroom, the students are supposed to absorb as much knowledge from this source of all real knowledge and do it as effectively as they can. This doesn't work. It just does not work. So even if you are trying to use these kind of technologies, if you are maintaining the same routine, the same interaction, it's not going to enhance anything. It's not going to change anything. So you need to change this routine, this interaction. You have to create a new paradigm of classroom interactions. One that is not centered in this person, one that is actually centered on the students. Now you have to excuse my drawings there because those are actually my drawings, and you probably notice how the students actually look better here than they did in the previous drawings. So that is kind of intentional because this is the way that it is supposed to be. So the new paradigm is supposed to be one in which the students are at the center. The students are really the players in the learning process. Now, how do you achieve that? You achieve this by providing them with what they truly need in order to get full knowledge. So under those conditions, you really have to be almost peripheral to the whole process. You have to be secondary. You're not making character in this process. But what you are supposed to be doing then is providing with all the other things that the students will be using actively to gain the knowledge that they actually need to gain. So you're supposed to be providing them with online quizzes, for instance, to motivate them to be on top of what they are supposed to be reading, the books, study guides. You're supposed to be providing all of that, and you're supposed to do it in a way that is consistent, that is well guided, so the students know what they need to do and when they need to do it. And under those conditions, then when they actually come to the classroom, they have the kind of interactions that really ensure enhance learning. So you need to change those interactions. You need to provide all of these things. One of the things that I have found the most useful for me in my teaching is providing the students with videos. I have implemented the use of videos for already more than 8 years. I've been using them consistently in my class. By now, they're kind of getting old, to tell you the truth. And sometimes when I look at my own videos, I feel bad for the students. And I actually tell them that. I actually tell them, you know, I'm sorry, this particular video that you're supposed to be looking for this next class has terrible audio, and even the delivery is not the best. You have a question?
Are you talking about videos of yourself lecturing or videos that you use like from YouTube?
Really, really good point.
All of the
Really
above?
great question. So, I tend to be a little too self-conscious for me to actually put a video of me teaching. I don't like it. If I look at myself teaching and doing these kind of things, I end up deleting the whole video. Because I just don't like it. So what I do is I actually like drawing. So I record some of my videos are basically me drawing stuff. Kind of the style that is used by Khan Academy. You're drawing stuff, you're explaining things, and what you're doing, you're talking, and you're drawing the processes that you're describing. That's one of the versions of the videos that I use. The other one, the one that I use more extensively, is simply showing the PowerPoints that I will be presenting later on in class. So I show the PowerPoints, and I really go through a very painful, time-consuming process of polishing those PowerPoint presentations so that the amount of time that those presentations take is minimized to the maximum. So it's all about content. The content is shrunk to the bare minimum, but you are doing exactly what they need to know. Now, one thing, I don't use other videos from other people because there is one thing. If you don't know, this actually has already been studied by other people. People have looked at the response of the students when they are asked to look at videos that were made by other people, and what students say invariably is one thing. My instructor doesn't want to put the effort to teach in class. And because of that, he gives us these links for videos for us to watch. So they don't see it as something that will enhance the learning. They see it as a way that the instructor is getting away with not doing his job or her job. That's the way that it is perceived by many students, consistently. It has actually been looked at. So my word of advice is, if they're going to be using videos, make them yourself. It's going to be painful. The product may not be the best. I know that my videos are not that good. I have, I believe, something like 700 and something people who have watched my videos since I put them on YouTube. And I think that that number is probably an exaggeration because I really don't think that they are that good. But more and more, I actually get people who are not from UTEP watching my own videos, which is really surprising. So my word of advice would be make your own videos. And I think that I have heard Steve offering help at that level. I don't know if he's still keeping that word. I'm tossing you now in the middle. But I think that if you have questions about how to do that, you can probably get help from somebody here. All right, let's move on. So these are things that you can use to change the dynamics in the classroom, because then the students are exposed to the content before coming to the classroom. Yes?
I was just going to say on videos, don't forget the caption.
That's totally right. So yes, some of my videos, I actually have files that go with the videos where I have the actual text of what I'm saying in the video. Because, you know, among others, I don't have an accent, right? So it's not really necessary. All right, so let's keep going. So this is what is required for you to truly change the routine in the classroom. All right. So now, the idea of all of this would be to have the kind of interactions where in the classroom you have group discussions, you have the kind of student-student interaction that really truly lead to the students having a chance to question what they are being exposed to question each other, to try to validate their own arguments by presenting them to somebody else. Nothing helps more than when you try to justify a statement that you're actually making. When you're asked a question, a multiple choice question, if you simply select A, B, or C, that's all you're doing. But if you're asked to justify your answer, why did you choose A? Why did you choose B? Why is this a better choice than the other one? Then you're really being engaged. And if you have to convince somebody else that this is the real answer, then the whole process gets and that's kind of what you're supposed to do. All right, now this has been my personal experience, and I just thought that this is something that I needed to share. So this is my rating as an instructor. This is from a few years ago. I didn't really bother putting the extra data from the more recent years. And in the data, for reasons that I prefer not to reveal, there is 1 year that is missing, 2011. Somehow it got lost. So, all right, now I reveal it. I'm sorry, I wasn't supposed to do that. All right, so this is my performance compared with the college average. I just want to emphasize this lower point here. That low point on 2009, right here. I actually took a dive in my performance as an instructor. That was the year. You don't want to hear this. Nobody wants to hear this. That was the year that I implemented the use of eye-clickers. Why? Because I didn't change anything in the classroom. The only thing that I did was, oh, now you're required to buy this. And I asked the students to, on top of everything else, on top of buying a book, on top of doing what they were already doing, now they needed to also bring something extra to the classroom. And the class continued to be exactly the same way. I didn't change a thing. The only thing that I did was, now I'm doing better because I have this little tool that I'm asking the students to actually bring to the classroom. It didn't change anything. It actually made things a little worse. But then I decided to start thinking about what I was doing and change the dynamics. And I started to create the videos. And I started to give the students the other tools that truly empower them, so they would be the drivers of the learning process. And then things got substantially better. Now, these are my scores in a large class setting. So this is not on a 20 students or 40 student setting. My class is typically taken by well over 140 students. So these scores are fairly okay, right? They could be better. There is always room for better, for improvement. But these are the changes that are possible when you truly flip the classroom. So flipping the classroom is something that I'm sure you have heard about. It's something that truly engages the student a lot more and increases the learning outcomes of all your tasks. All right, so then let's go on then to the next step. All right, so I already told you that eye-clickers can actually help if you're changing things in the classroom. Okay. Eye-clickers can be good. So in order to use the eye-clickers, besides the other changes that I already mentioned, what is it that you need? So number one, in the old days, you actually needed this. In order to use an eye-clicker, you need to get these devices. This is the very first eye-clicker that was used in universities here in the United States. It's a model that you can still get on eBay or, I don't know, Amazon sometimes. It's not what is being used nowadays. This model was substituted by another one, and as they continued to be more widely used in universities around the US, the company kept improving the quality of the systems, and it continued to become fancier and more flexible, and it continued to allow you to do more and more things with them. But there was always an issue associated with these eye-clickers, and that was the fact that the students had to pay to use them because they had to purchase them. the company actually learned while they were actually pushing this into the universities that at some point there were so many used models that they were not really making money out of this. And then the company evolved, of course. And what the company decided to do was that in order for you to register your iClicker, then you needed to pay. So now you are not paying for the device, you are paying to register the device so that you could actually use it. It would do you no good to have the device if you couldn't register the device. So the only way that you could use it was if you paid the company, even if you were using somebody else's old iClicker. In my class, I actually decided to ask students to donate the iClickers at the end of the semester. If they knew that they were not going to use the iClicker anymore, I asked them, if you are doing so, please give it to me, so that I can pass it on to somebody who cannot afford it. It was beautiful. It actually worked tremendously well to do that. But still, the company got a way around that. And then it didn't matter that they had the device, they had to still pay to register. Yes?
If they use it in your class and then they have another class, do they have to buy two, or can they use it?
No, so one is good for all the classes. But before we go into that, the thing is, they don't even need this anymore. They don't even need the iClicker anymore. Because now what they can do is whatever smart system they may have, whether it is a computer, smartphone, tablet, any smart device they may actually have with them, they can use it in substitution for the iClicker. So the polling that is done in the class, they can answer with whatever it is that they have access to. So now the need to buy these units has been completely avoided. There is no need to purchase anything, because these days most people have either of these two elements. Now, there is still the need for registration though. But the beauty about this is that now we have enough people here at UTEP using this technology that the university is actually paying for the license. And we have a good number of active licenses, so that we haven't run into the issue of having more students trying to register than what we have paid for. So for the students, right now, if you decide to incorporate this technology in your classroom, students will not have to pay a penny to use it. And that's beautiful, because it really creates a kind of environment where you're not excluding anybody. I hate excluding the students, especially when the exclusion measure is the ability to pay for something. That's the worst kind of exclusion that you can actually have, the most painful. So having the ability to include everybody, because we are all using it, well, a lot of people are using it, that's beautiful. And it's something that if we all continue to use, we will be pushing the university to maintain it active, so that we will continue to pay for this. So I'm really highly encouraging you all to start using this in your classrooms. Yes?
So, if they can use their phones, is there like a platform then that they work from? So like if you're not in the UGLC or in some classroom that's all highly technological, and you're in a classroom like liberal arts or something, is there then a platform that you can use the clicker from?
Well, sadly you hit one of those issues that implementing this technology may actually face. You need a really good Wi-Fi network. Because when you are using these through these devices, the students need to connect to a secure network. So they need to be connected to a Wi-Fi network. Well, not always. They can also use their own paid service to do it. Their answers may actually take a little longer to be received by your system. I don't really know how much of a delay there is, because to tell you the truth, I experienced a couple of semesters ago issues with the Wi-Fi system that I was using, but I didn't even know about that. I actually got to know when I tried to use the other system that I'm going to talk about. The lockdown browser, when I tried to implement that system to do the exams, that's when I realized that half of the class was connected through their own personal service to actually answer the questions that I was asking in class. So that was shocking to me. And that was something that we actually had to work with. And the university has been incredibly helpful when it comes down to all of these. But the more users we have, the bigger the push will be to get the Wi-Fi system to the level where it needs to be so that we can all use it without even having to think about the strength of the Wi-Fi signal in the classrooms that we're using. Because it will be then the kind of situation where all classrooms need to have the kind of Wi-Fi that is required to be able to do this. But it only comes with numbers. If it is a small fraction of people who are using this, then it will be okay to have only a small number of classrooms that have the kind of Wi-Fi system that will allow us to use this kind of technology. All right, let's keep going. So, all right. I think that there are a few features that I wanted to mention about this, but I don't want to take 20 hours doing this presentation, and at the rate that I'm going, I'm starting to feel like it might actually happen. So I just wanted to address two extra characteristics of this system. One of them is one of the fears that sometimes people have about using clickers on the cloud or through Wi-Fi systems is that sometimes students find ways of not being present and still making it seem as if they were actually present in the classroom because they were answering the questions that you were asking, right? Students have ways of doing that, right? They are very tech savvy, right? I mean, these people have grown up using technology, right? So they probably know technology even better than we do. So one of the issues is, can we truly rely on this system as a way to keep track of attendance, for instance? And the answer is, well, the people who have developed this system, they actually have been faced with all of those questions, and they have actually created ways of making it so that the system will allow you to do that. So one of the beautiful additions to the Reef, to the iClicker Cloud, the way that it is called now, is that now it has GPS abilities, meaning the system will register where you were located at the time that you access the system. So it actually creates a location, a GPS location. So if the students are claiming that they were in the classroom, but they were somewhere else, you will be able to actually find out that. There is no way around that. Yes?
Does that mean that the question that you put in on the class is also on the cloud? Because I would be surprised that if we're teaching, the question is there, and so the answer. So, unless you put it online, and they can track you.
It is totally doable. It is possible simply because the moment that you activate the cloud, you start receiving answers. Even if the student is not looking at your presentation, they will still be able to get the questions in their receivers. Whatever it is that they are using, they will see the questions in their receiver. As long as they are connected online, they will be able to see the question. They are not seeing what you are presenting in the classroom, but they will see the questions popping up. So they will actually be able to answer the questions even if they are not in the classroom.
I got it.
Yeah, so it's really funny. It's a funny thing. It almost doesn't make sense, but the way you can set the system is you will not be allowed to answer unless you are at a certain distance from the actual receiver. Yes, so two questions. Yes.
Just as a follow-up, probably simple, that you can block that, so it doesn't
Yes.
take the snapshot of your picture. So.
Oh, you can also prevent the pictures, but doing it actually prevents the students from being able to use this as a study guide. And that's one of the beauties of the system. When you ask them questions in the classroom, the question that you're asking gets registered as a picture in their system, and then they can use those pictures as a study guides. Because if you ask that question, it's because you consider that that question is relevant. It's probably important, right? So then they can use those questions as a study guides. If you block them, if you don't allow them to have pictures of what you're asking them about, then you keep them from gaining that advantage. So that's one issue. The GPS is a good way to block it though. If they are not within a certain area, within a certain distance from you, then they cannot answer you. Yes?
You can set that?
You can set that, yes, yes. And it's, all the settings for the system are fairly straightforward. And that's the other thing that is great. These days you can Google anything, right? The company has actually done a really good job at putting all the help that you may actually need when you are setting up the system so that you will be able to answer all the questions that you may have during the setup. All right, if there are no more questions, I want to move forward so we can actually go through at least an example of how to use the technology, because I think that that's probably a good idea. All right, so let's move on with it. So now, before going into that, the only last thing is the other potential requirement to use this technology is having, oh wow. I don't like microphones. The other potential thing that you may need is one of these. If you have a large classroom setting with more than 50 students, having this device comes really handy because it allows you to play with the system in a more active way. It's not required. You can collect the answers using the internet, but having it actually facilitates a few things, among others. This display that the device has tells you how the students are responding. And this is something that the students don't see. You actually see how many people are answering A, B, C. You can actually see what the students are answering as they are answering. So having that device allows you to do that, and then you can actually guide them in the process. You can actually, if you see that they are answering the wrong way, you can actually tell them something that will guide them, that will force them to think in the right way, approach the question the right way, so then they can get to the right answer. So this actually gives you an advantage. It's not absolutely required. It's not required, especially if you're using the cloud version of the system, but it's handy to have. All right, more questions? Yes?
My question is that you said that system is good for a larger group, right, 50 or above. And so my question is that a maximum that this system can
So
handle?
I think that the maximum is the sky. I know that there are some universities where they use this system with classes that have more than 400 students registered on them. And I think that we don't have any class of that size here.
Yeah, we do.
We do? More than 400 people
I
in
thought
the
it
classroom? You have one.
Oh, gosh.
All right.
No.
All right.
You start off with more than 400, and then it dropped to like 380 at the end of the semester.
Right, so maybe having an eye clicker will keep the people from dropping out. All right, okay, let's keep going. So, all right, so I want to actually go through the process of installing the system. If you have any kind of smart device with you, I highly encourage you to follow these steps. The steps that I actually put in the presentation were actually intended for people with computers. And I don't know if you guys actually got the email that I sent earlier today. Again, if you're attending the class today, please bring a computer. Like it's the kind of situation where if it was my class, I would probably invite bad grades right now to everybody. All right, no, I don't actually punish them that way. All right, so if you have any kind of device, we have a Blackboard shelf for this class. We actually do have a Blackboard shelf. So if you have any smart device, go to your Blackboard under my UTEP.edu and go into this class. I think that the name of the class is Teaching Technologies. You should be able to find it under the ones that don't have an assigned term. So under Blackboard, under your classes, you probably have one in which you are a student, and that's this one. So if you click in that link, you will actually find a link to the iClicker signing. You will see it right there. You will find a link for the iClicker signing. Have you guys found it? Are you guys having issues finding it? Anybody who is trying but not succeeding at getting there? Is everybody there? As a student, yes.
I don't think the Wi-Fi is very good in this room.
Let me
Go to UTEP Secure.
let me check because we do have like 160 megabytes in here.
Oh, okay. All right. Is everybody getting there? Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So I'll take it from there. So if you have already clicked on sign in, I use the sign in. You should be seeing this screen. Are you guys seeing this screen right now?
So
Yes? Okay. All right. Now, the next step that you have to follow, the next step that you need to follow, depends on whether you're using a computer or a smartphone to register. Either way, you need to sign in as a student. So go for the student registration. So what I have described here was me being hopeful and thinking that everybody was actually going to bring a computer today. So I actually have screenshots of what you should see if you have a computer. And this is the way that I like doing it in my classroom. In my classroom, I actually would set it up to be using smartphones, because that's what most students will actually be using to answer the system. For today, since I requested a computer, I actually got the screenshots for computers. So if you select here, sign in under student web, the next screen that you will see will be this. That will be the next screen that you will see. And you probably will see another version of this if you're using a smartphone. But the important thing is, you're trying to register, you need to create a username. So you need to provide it with an email address and a password. If you already are a user. If you are not a user and you don't have an account, you have to then select the sign up option. You have to sign up for it. So you're going to be creating a brand new account with the system. You have to select sign up. And if you do that, the next screen is going to ask you for an institution. And we are at UTEP. So you can actually type UTEP right there. If you type UTEP, you will see that the option will come up that will say the University of Texas at El Paso. That option will pop up that you put UTEP. And then all you have to say is, yes, I attended the University of Texas at El Paso. Then you select next. You click next right there. And then you should be presented with this kind of screen where you are now being asked to give your personal information. So you have to provide a name, a last name, an email, and since we are at UTEP, the system already knows that we are supposed to have an 800 number that is associated with our identity as it goes to UTEP. So you are being asked also to provide your 800 number, your ID number for UTEP. So you enter that, and the moment that you enter all of that information, you click, I agree to the privacy policy in terms of use. The moment that you do all of that, then you will be allowed to go on, and you will be shown this exit screen, almost done. You need to create a password. So you enter a password, and now you select create account. And now, after doing that, you should have this screen, account created. How many of you have already created an account? How many of you went through the process successfully? All right, good. Okay. Is there anybody who is trying to create an account that not really succeed? Yes,
Roman, I wonder, would you kind of show these steps to your students in the first meeting, saying, do this, or you think, oh, they are, computer savvy?
So there are two easy ways to do it. One of them is using your syllabus as a way to actually tell them follow these steps. Or second option, doing it in the classroom. It depends on how much time you actually want to commit to it. If they have the devices and they have the screenshots, it shouldn't take you more than 5 minutes. And that's kind of what I'm hoping here, that it shouldn't take more than 5 minutes. So even if you want to do it in the classroom, the process should be fairly straightforward, especially if you take the time to capture screenshots of what they should be seen at every stage. All right, so at this point, we should then be able to sign in. So go ahead and sign in by entering your info, password information, and then select sign in. Now, if you do that, then the system will ask you if you want to register an IP or remote. And I'm guessing that nobody had a remote. Nobody has a remote here, right? Then skip this step, go on to the next screen, and then you will be asked to add courses. You need to add a class for this. So here, you need to select the option that says add a course to start using iClicker Read. So you have to select add a course. And the class that you will be searching for, you will enter the information in the next screen that you really asked. So again, you have to find the institution, you have to indicate that you're at UTEP, and the moment that you do that, you are now within the UTEP system, and you will be searching for a class in UTEP. So if you guys are there now, are you there? Yes. All right. You can enter Classroom Technologies in there. Enter Classroom Technologies, and the system should give you the option Classroom Technologies, friends, no photos. With my name associated with it, you should be able to see it. And you can just select that. The moment that you select that, you are given this option. Select add this course. Yes? Oh no, there are two. No, there is one that is the one that I want you to use. What are the two options? Oh, there is one that is misspelled. Yes. When I was creating it, I actually made an error. It's not the one that you're supposed to select. Select the good one. Select the one that speaks highly of me, not the other one. All right.
And actually I have.
All right, so if you have selected that one, say add this course, and then you should have this. And if you're here, welcome to the class. You've made it. This is the process that the students will have to go through in the classroom. And here it took us a little longer simply because I guess we just, well, you guys just ate, and I'm hungry. But in the classroom, I can bet you can probably get through all of these processes in less than 5 minutes. All right, so now you have to click on the course name, and when you do that, you will see the active screen now. So when you select the screen and you click on the name of the class, you'll probably see something that has actual information in there. So just to make sure that you guys are actually getting this, I want you guys to click enter A. Just write A or enter A. Oh, it's a multiple choice. So enter A. It's a multiple choice question. Enter A if you're connected. I have 5 answers only so far. This is kind of sad.
We're still signing up.
All right. We can wait. Enter A any moment. You can enter A any moment. It's not showing it.
You can even.
Or if you're on your wrong one. The one that is misspelled. Try to go back. Okay, we have 10 people now entering A.
You can still change yours.
Yes? Yeah? Okay. So the number is not changing. I'm going to give a few extra seconds, hoping that somebody else can join us. How many more do we have? Okay, I'll give another 5 seconds. And I'm going to stop it. If you're trying to register, if you are still going through the process, don't worry. Finish the process, okay? Finish the process. So I'm going to stop it right now. So I just want to give you a sense of what you can actually do. I stopped the process right now. I can actually check on the spot if you guys were actually paying attention, if you guys were listening to what I requested. I said select A, right? So I can see if you guys selected A. And yes, you are all very good. Typically when I do this with students, I always have somebody saying B, C, D, or E. I always have at least one saying something different. And sometimes I really don't think that it's just for the sake of it. It's for the sake of doing something slightly different than what I requested. Which is kind of fun, actually. Yeah. All right, so you probably get to see the answers right there. But while you were answering, I could have actually checked what you guys were answering right here on my own device, which is one of the biggest advantages of having your own personal device. You can actually check what you're doing before showing it to everybody. All right, so let's keep going. So, all right, so let's actually go through an example of how to use this. Let's have an actual example of how to use these technologies. So we're taking a substantial diversion into something else, right? Now we're actually going to be talking about real content, real science, real knowledge. You guys are going to learn something else today. All right, so what I want you guys to do is, now, I want you guys to enter a different kind of answer. I want you guys to tell me how these monkeys relate to each other. So monkey A is the same one that is depicted in picture B. So A and B are the same monkey, monkey C and D are the same monkey. And what I want you guys to tell me is how the two relate to each other. So the sentence that I have on top is what I want you guys to fill in. So I have there something that reads monkey A, B. So this monkey is something than monkey C, D. So I want you guys to fill in the something. I want you guys to tell me, what do you think monkey A, B is more or less or different than monkey C, D? I want you guys to tell me something about it. I want you guys to look at those two monkeys and tell me how they compare to each other.
It's not our system.
There you go. Good point. I forgot to actually allow you guys to enter the answer. So good. So there it is. It should be okay. All right. So far I have 11 answers. 11 people who are telling me what they feel about the two monkeys, how they really think about the two monkeys. Right. So I'm going to stop it right now, and I want to take a look at how you guys are relating the two monkeys to each other. So I'm going to stop it now, and then let's see some of the answers. So seeker. Monkey A is seeker than monkey B, I mean CD, or less angry. Let's see, let's look at those faces. Let's look at the monkey faces. All right, I don't know why the system is not allowing me to gain access to that right now. Uh-oh, well, all right, let's take it. All right, the monkey faces, let's see, A and C. All right, let's see what other answers we have. First, you have older and wiser. Older and wiser. That's older and wiser. All right. And less hairy, happier. A is happier than CD. Or, oh, now I did something really bad. Okay, there we go. Or more abuse. Okay, all right. So now, with these kind of options, you are able to ask open-ended questions to the students and actually get a sense of exactly what they are thinking right now. Right on the spot, the moment that you ask them, you can get a sense of how they relate to images that you are showing them. Now, let's keep going. Let's take these away. Yes?
Before you leave, then how do you grade them?
Well, I can either select one. Okay, that's a good question. I can say that one of those questions actually is the one that I consider is the right answer. So the only issue is I'm going to have to escape the presentation.
I see.
I don't know what's happening with the system. But then you select one of them as the one that you want to give credit, or you can select all of them.
Yeah.
Or you can select 3 or 4 of them. You just have to click here.
Right.
But I'm not having access to my mouse right now. I don't know what's going on. So, but you can do it in the classroom, or you can do it afterwards.
But my concern is, based on your experience, this kind of question say that if I have 400 students, I have to go through 400, that can become a burden. So what would be a better strategy?
So there are different ways to actually visualize the answers. There are different ways to visualize the answers. So you can actually view a word cloud. Okay, I'm not really getting the option right here. If you have the pointer, you can actually select view word cloud, and it will actually show you the words that are the most predominant in the answers that are given by the students. So there are different ways of visualizing the answers. You don't have to really go through all of them. You can also scroll if you want to. And you can actually then get a sense of what is the predominant answer. But there are different ways of representing that. The cloud is really beautiful because the words that are the most predominant words will be shown in big size, big fonts. The words that are very infrequent will be tiny little words here and there. So that's a really beautiful way of representing the data that you're collecting from the students. Yes?
Or can you just automatically say that everything with the word old in it is correct?
Yeah, you can do this. I believe that there are ways to do that. I'm not.
Yeah, no, it's not gonna
Yes.
work. I mean, if you have 400 students and you're looking for old, you have to go through the
You have
400.
to manually.
If you're doing the
sort.
short answer.
So it really has to be multiple choice.
You can do it, it doesn't have to be multiple choice. You could put it on like your question. You can say, okay, these are your options, but still do it on open-ended, just so they know what kind, what you're looking for.
So one thing that you're actually allowing me to address is sometimes you don't want to grade the answers. Not every question that you're asking is a question that requires you to be giving them a grade for it. So you have to be really smart about the questions that you're going to be asking in class. Now, one thing that you can do though is you can always drop a question on the spot. And you can just collect the data using this, right? So being spontaneous, having this kind of flexibility really allows you to do that. Being spontaneous and being smart about what kind of information you want to get from the students. Sometimes you have terrible dynamics in the classroom. You feel that things are not going well. And sometimes when I feel that way, you can simply ask them, how are you guys feeling right now? And you can just allow them to enter. And believe it or not, just simply being able to put, I'm bored to death, and being able to read it out in front of everybody changes the dynamic of the classroom in an instant. They get a big laugh out of that. They see that everybody's hungry, everybody's dying. Everybody wants to get out of the classroom. Just expressing it and putting it in front of everybody allows them to have a different attitude toward the class. And you bring them back, and you gain them back, and you keep the dynamics in the classroom. So it's something that is really good. All right, but where was I going with the monkey images? I guess you're probably wondering. All right, so the idea here is, this is something that you guys have probably heard about, caloric restriction. One of those crazy ideas that people sometimes come out with. Thinking about how to extend human life without necessarily making it more fun, though, right? So, caloric restriction. So, these two monkeys, both of them are male, both of them are exactly the same age. But one of them was fed a low-calorie diet. The other one was fed a high-calorie diet. Now, I haven't really given you that information. Any guess on which one is the low-calorie diet and which one is the high-calorie diet? Right, let's ask that. Right, let's be spontaneous about it. Enter either A for this one or C for this one. Which one is the monkey on the caloric restricted diet? The one who ate very little. Which one is it? Is it A or is it C? You can enter your answer right now. Wait a second, it's an open question right now. No, it's numeric. I don't want numeric. Let me stop it. Let me stop it right now. Multiple choice. Enter A. Or if you think that A is the one in caloric diet, enter C if you think that C is the one with the restricted caloric diet. Yes?
Doesn't it
Oh, sorry.
There.
Yes?
Can I step back and ask a conceptual question here?
Yes?
So,
Yes.
just so I can get an understanding of the different uses for this type of tool. So, what I heard you say is that you can use it to maybe allow venting, like how are you feeling in order to increase morale and attention. You can use it to see if the students are on the same wavelength with what you're trying to get them thinking, or you can use it for assessment purposes. Are there any other like conceptual purposes for this tool?
Oh wow, you have mentioned a few of them. I think that those are probably all of
Just so
them.
I can kind of understand the fullest use of this.
You know, this is the kind of situation where I really wish I had already eaten, because I can totally feel how my brain is not being able to come up with other alternatives. I think that under normal conditions I would have already come up with another one, but I can't think of another one right now. I think that the ones that you mentioned pretty much sum it all up. I think those are all the potential uses of this technology. At least all the ones that I can think of right now. sadly. Yes, Camilo.
So, it doesn't need to be you, Herman, who addresses, but kind of also conceptually, I can see kind of slide problem being kind of freelance by using the clicker. How do you do the assignment of point, if any?
All right, so that's a big question. How much credit, how much value do you actually assign to the iClicker? And that's one in which I actually have had long conversations with other people who use this technology. And that's one point where I tend to disagree with everybody. But it's okay because I teach my own classes, right? It's not like other people need to tell me how to grade my class. But the way I do it, and the way that my own experience has actually taught me that is the best way to do it, is the points that you get through the iClicker are extra points. They are never being truly evaluated with the iClicker. Whatever they do with the iClicker can actually add to their numeric value that they have already achieved in the class. Extra points.
You can actually measure participation and accuracy.
Yes, yes.
And do both at the same time.
Yeah, but even then, I don't give them an actual grade for participation. If they are answering all the questions in any given session, I give them, say, 4 points by default. And then every question that I ask in the class, if they are really difficult questions, I give them more value. If they are really easy questions, I give them little value. But if they have answered all the questions in that particular session, I give them a lot of points. Because they are coming to class, they are being engaged, they are participating. So that's the way that I typically do it. I give extra points for participation, just the fact that they are trying. I give them something for that. And then if on top of that they get it right, I give them a little bit extra. That's the way that I do it, but all of this is extra credit. They're not really being evaluated on the iClicker. Now, the reason why, let me just explain briefly the reason why. If you know that you're being graded, it puts a lot of extra stress with you. And it kind of, in a way, takes away the fun of it. So let me put it this way. If you are being asked to establish an interaction with somebody in the classroom and justify your answer with somebody else, discuss with somebody, that by itself should allow you to come down to the right answer. If you give too much value to that, then what students tend to do is they ask the person who always has the right answer, and they don't really engage in real conversation. Because all they care is to get the extra points. That's the goal of what they are doing. Oh, I need those points because I'm doing badly in the class. And then the only thing that they do is they sit right next to a person who is always right. So then you're taking away the opportunity for them to really engage in an active process by giving them too much value.
At the same time, you need to make sure that the students take this seriously. So they don't just simply respond for the sake of doing that. So I would say combination of participation and accuracy.
Yes.
Probably more participation than accuracy would be okay.
Yeah, so it's difficult. It's one that is really difficult. My personal experience has driven me to what I do, but I can totally see how this is one in which there are many different shades of gray. And it really comes down to your own personal convenience, your own personal experience. And that's also what is beautiful about this. You can shape it to be whatever it is that better fits you. All right, we're taking way too much time. Let me just talk briefly about this, caloric restriction. That's what I was mentioning before, because I know that Michael is dying to also participate here. All right, the idea behind this is, it has been proven in experimental models in animals, that animals that are fed diets that are substantially limited in caloric value, they tend to live longer. They tend to live substantially longer. And what is shown here is some of that data. So these are mice, and this is a way to measure the lifespan of mice. So your regular mouse that is fed a normal diet tends to live about a little more than 30 months. So 30 months for a mouse is pretty old already. That's what is shown here. But you live the caloric value of the diet that you're feeding these animals, you extend the life. If you diminish 10% the number of calories that they are taking, lifespan is extended by a few months. But if you decrease the amount of calories that they are taking by 50%, now you're almost doubling the lifespan of those mice. This is shocking. This is basically realizing that if you were to sacrifice yourself and eat substantially less, you would probably live a lot longer, right? This is really something challenging. Now, the question here is, this is in mice, right? Now, interesting enough, mice are fairly different from us. That's something that is easy to appreciate. Similar experiments have actually been done with monkeys. So at this point, my intention was to actually ask you, guess which monkey is the one that has been fed this diet? I'm not gonna do it right now because we're really running behind time, like way behind. But the idea here is, it also works in monkeys. It's not just in mice. It works quite well in monkeys. These two are the same age, but this one, who is substantially weaker, and actually looks very frail. It's actually very sick because it's very old already. This one is the one that was eating 885 calories per day. So this is the one that was well fed. You can actually tell that it's also a little bigger than the other monkey, but it's just not doing as well. So then, with this in mind, then the question becomes, okay, so this is great when it comes down to small animals, when it comes down to mammals, but how about humans? Is this something that also happens in humans? And then at this point, maybe I'm going to spend the 3 minutes that the colleagues would agree to spend here. We're really falling behind. At this point, I will ask you this question. So it would be fair to say that in humans, caloric restriction has been demonstrated to work the same way as in mice and monkeys. Or caloric restriction is likely to work the same way as in mice and monkeys. Or finally, caloric restriction is not likely to work the same way as in mice and monkeys, as humans are unquestionably more complex. Which one would be the best answer? Now, we are behind, so what I'm going to tell you is simply how I would implement this kind of question in the classroom. So what I would normally do is allow the students to talk about it and select one of these options, and then after that, I will give them extra information. I will not give them the right answer. I will not give them the right answer right away, because this is the kind of question that drives them to have really interesting discussions and arguments. So I will follow this question by giving them some real data derived from studies that have been done in humans. I will actually show them data of what we know about humans in terms of caloric restriction. And then after that, I will ask them the same question. And sometimes there is real value in doing that, because it forces them then to assess what has been presented to them before, and then assess the information that is being given after the initial question. And that really drives them to truly think about what is being presented to them. It not only motivates them to have real interaction in the classroom, but it really drives them to learn these topics in a way that if you ask them again the same question 2 weeks later, they will nail it down in a second. It's through learning what happens in this process. You expose them to the question, you motivate them to have that dialogue, that argument about the question, and then you give them extra information. You guide them even more. All right, I'm going to simply finalize this part by telling you that there are a few guidelines to best practices in terms of the use of the iClicker, and I have actually put some of the links to the best practices to the use of iClicker on the Blackboard shelf that was created for this class. And since I'm so hungry, and I guess some of you probably need to go and do other stuff, I'm going to jump now to the second section, the use of the Respondus lockdown browser. Now, this is a completely different technology. This is one that is intended specifically for exams. So we are changing topic completely here. We are forgetting the iClicker now, we're jumping into something different. We're jumping into a technology that is specifically designed for exams. How many of you use in your exams this little tool? How many of you use that in your exams? I have 3, 4. Do you love it? Do you love using that? I have a no, 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 no. This is one of those things that I actually go to have nightmares about. Among others, because even though the students are required to write only in this part, sometimes when you're doing the grading of those scantrons, it's almost impossible to read the name of the students. It's the only thing that they are supposed to write. It's almost impossible to decipher what it is that they have written there. Now, never mind the fact that these can actually be, so it's not just the labeling, the volume of them. You have to put them in the scantron. The scantron will give them a grade, but then you have to enter that data into Blackboard so the students will have access to a grade. There is so much extra time and effort that goes into doing this. That is a really uphill battle. Whenever test day comes around, I used to really fear it. I used to dread going to the classroom when I had exam day, because I knew that I was going to be required to go through the process of assigning a grade to all of those and then entering the grade. And then there are issues about cheating, and one issue that was a big issue for me, there were students that would actually have access to all copies of your exams. And I actually had groups of students that came to my office saying, Dr. Rosas, I know of people who don't really know much about what you are teaching us, but they do great in the exams because they have access to all copies of your exams. Now, I change all my exams. I have never used the same exam at any time in my life. I always change them. But believe it or not, having access to all copies of your exams, because of the way you formulate questions, the way you use your language, the way you approach those exam questions, having access to that already gives them a dramatic advantage over the other students who don't have access to all copies of your exams. So what you're doing by using that kind of old style of exams is you are creating an unfair environment for the students. Not only you are wasting resources, you're having to make copies, you're having to do all of this extra work, you're also creating an unfair environment for the students. And the solution for this is actually the lockdown browser. This tool will not only solve all of these issues, but it will also save you time. Over time, you can create a database of questions that you can implement time after time. A database of questions that you can keep adding to, and you can keep on implementing. With the added advantage that every time that the student takes an exam, he's going to get a random sample of all the questions that you have in the database, so that no two students in your classroom will have exactly the same exam. And that by itself already allows you to have a more relaxed environment in the classroom. You don't have to be completely on top of them all the time, because the chances of them being able to copy from each other are really low. If you have enough questions in your database, that's the way that it will go. So it really creates a more relaxed environment for you, and something that prevents a lot of the issues that are associated with this kind of testing technology. So with that, I think I'm gonna pass this to Michael. How are we doing? Are we doing okay? How much time do we have?
I might just make a quick comment then. Thank you, Dr. Rosas-Acosta. So I guess one of the biggest themes, and I mean, we see it here today, is the time that it takes to set up the technology and being in class, and you know, we kind of have to go through that laborious process of setting it up. Well, so I won't give you my entire presentation, but I do want to share with you. So I do want to share one thing with you, and this is a, like I said, it's a very common theme. This is a cartoon I looked up. you know, how often are we like these goofballs, right? We don't put enough time into setting up the technology. But whereas if we did put enough time into it, you know, who knows, they could be doing overnight delivery later. That being said, we at Technology Support, we do kind of have this philosophy that we try to make processes more efficient. And I think that's the theme to take away from here, is it gives you the ability to focus on the content and kind of gives you back your resources, your time. Well, I won't go through everything else, but I do want to, I guess, advertise that on April 19th, we'll be having a workshop for online exams. So in case you're interested in that portion, we saw the engagement portion, and then we'll see the assessment portion, right? How do we, okay, we can't engage using assessments, but we can at least minimize that process, so that kind of laborious process of assessments, and kind of get back to focusing on the content. Other than that, I think
I just want to add one thing. So we can actually plan on giving you a Blackboard lockdown responder exam today. So we were supposed to go through the same process of actually registering, uploading the program, putting it in your computer. So what I would like you guys to do, we obviously don't have the time to do it now. What I would like you to do though is if you go to the Blackboard site for this class, you will see that there is an exam in there. Not only there is an exam, but there is also a link to download the lockdown browser on your computer. So I really would like you to do it on your own. Download the browser, put it on your computer, and then go through the test that Michael had actually prepared for you guys. And see how it actually works. See how the browser doesn't allow you to do anything else other than answer the exam, and see how you interact with the exam. And then that will give you a sense of whether this is a better way to give exams than using schedules. Because I think that you probably don't really need much direction from us if you actually get to experience it on your own. If you get to see how the system works, you try to answer the questions that are given back there, you will see what the students will actually experience doing it on their own. So I highly motivate you to do it like that, and if you consider that this is something that you are willing to try in your classes, then I would say probably contact Michael and
the help desk. We're Library 300 or extension 4357. It's help on your phone. So go ahead and contact us, and we'll get you set up with that. And to kind of help again, make your classes run a little bit smoother, allows you to focus on the stuff that you want.
Can you send us your PowerPoint? I'd still like to see.
Oh yeah. So I'll be sending those resources.
And I will be posting mine as well. So they both will be available through the same link, the same Blackboard shell, okay? Yes.
Yes. Are the exams through the responders locker given in the class at the same time?
So that was one of the big topics that Michael wanted to actually share with you guys. So what I have done is I have actually used that technology in the classroom to give the exams in the classroom. So the students actually are required to bring a computer to the classroom.
And there's a problem with that? Everybody has something to...
It has worked really well, but there were a few things that Michael actually wanted to mention.
So yeah, going back to that theme is, again, there are sometimes some technical difficulties, but we do work at kind of ironing them out. One of the questions is Wi-Fi for iClicker and for the online exams. That is something that last fall, or this past fall, we have worked with the networking team to address some of those issues.
They can use their iPhone too? In the response, or just
No, they need to use the computer.
No, the computer.
For the exams, they need to use the computer. Yes.
Otherwise, when we kind of sit down and kind of get it all set up, we can get you squared away. And that starts with contacting the help desk, and then they'll kind of route it toward us.
But I can tell you that on my experience, we have been able to implement those exams in the classroom for 145 students.
100%.
100%. Yeah, with all of them basically the first few times there were a few people who ended up having to come back to my office and take it later on in my office.
Yeah.
But even then, I can testify for the fact that even with the students that had to come with me later on to take the exam, it was substantially better. It was a huge improvement over doing the test using Spanish.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Francisco Poblano. I just want to thank Dr. Rosas-Acosta for sharing his experiences with us. He's really an early adopter of transforming or doing, moving into online exams, and I can see, how really has reduced his grading and also really helping the environment, right, by not printing so much paper. So thank you so much for that. For being an early adopter for that in the iClicker, when he talked about this engagement tool, we do have about 6,500 unique students who are using it this semester. So obviously there's a lot of use of that already, but the transitioning from paper to online exams is something that not too many that I know of. I think Herman really put us to the test when he started to do this in the summer, I guess, of last year. And I do want to say that just contact us if you want to do this in your class. We have people that will go to your classroom and help you do the first setup. And we believe that any classroom, it's going to be ready for activities like this. There were some major changes last fall to the Wi-Fi infrastructure, but also recently you probably noticed that we no longer advertise UTEP guests, because even though we had a robust Wi-Fi infrastructure, students were still seeing UTEP guests, and it was not good for activities like this. Lastly, you saw Irene Rojas over here. Some of you saw, and actually she was helping out with the iClicker. She's our point of contact. Well, you can call it help desk, but she'll get with you when it comes to helping you with the iClicker. She does provide training one-on-one, does the setup for the instructor, but also it has a lot of good material that includes some of the what Dr. Germán Rosas-Acosta mentioned as far as best practices in our website. So just thank you for pushing us hard to the limits as far as technology and for sharing your experiences with everybody here. Thank you.